In rural France, you can buy an awful lot of house for your money. There are houses in the local area for less than €20,000, habitable houses. Now, there are also abandoned chateaux. I know of at least 5. If you look in the distance, about there is Dan's Chateau de Chaumont. Now, we've got a lake, we've got a barn, we've got a little patch of woodland, and our house is about 220 square metres. I'm not going to tell you exactly how much we paid for it, but we couldn't renew our little family hatchback for what we paid. So yeah, we got an awful lot of house for our money. This house had been unoccupied since the early 1990s. You could basically consider it off-grid because, well, there was no mains water, there was no sewerage, the electrics had been, well, from the 1940s or somewhere around then, and they'd been disconnected. So yeah, it was totally off-grid. Many of these old buildings just simply crumble away. The expense of restoring them just exceeds their worth. And even when done, they can be considerably more expensive to run than their modern equivalents. Many of the stones used to build this house would have come from the surrounding land, which is just terraced into the hill, and the wood would have come from the surrounding forests, and the bricks for the internal walls would have come from local brickyards just a stone's throw from here. At some point in the future, we do hope we'll be getting fibre optic internet, because these poles and various white boxes around the village have been appearing, but unfortunately the poles and the wires keep breaking, and they haven't even been connected yet. When we moved in, you could barely climb over any of the junk and detritus that was left in the attic, but we made the effort. And these timbers, these are all oak, and the tiles are all slate. Now, sorry about the light, folks, there's no light up here, but yeah, in the local area you're allowed to use slate and terracotta, but you're not actually allowed to use thatch, funnily enough, because during the French Revolution, us Brits came through the local village, and we set fire to all the thatched cottages in the local village. So yeah, I've checked my diary, it wasn't me, and yeah, we set fire to all the local thatched houses. So yeah, you got to check with your local mayor on what building materials you're actually allowed to use. Yeah, but we made the effort, and we checked that all the timbers in the roof didn't have any rot in them, or woodworm or termites or anything like that, but all the timbers are actually in incredible condition. And yeah, there's not been much water and grass, or there's the odd slipped tile, and we've made contact with a local roofer, and he's going to come round just after New Year and fix those slate tiles. And we did have a hailstorm, and it punched the odd hole through. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, there's the odd speck of light coming through. So yeah, we had a terrible storm. Yeah, there's the odd bit of light coming through, and that is where there's a bit of zinking on the ridge which has split, and I don't know if you can see in the previous video, but I did do my best to repair the zinking, and he's coming around just after New Year. But the rest of the roof is in incredible condition, and yeah, see on the floor, that is where the zinking has gone, but the roof is in incredible condition. To repair a roof this size would cost, I don't know, 50,000 euros, which is more than what some people would spend replacing our kitchen. And well, it's more than what we paid for the house. So, you know, yeah. So we could have gone incredibly wrong. But if I come over to this window here, now when we moved in, we couldn't get to this window because of the amount of detritus in this roof. And yeah, there's a little crate here, and there is a leaking bit of wood. So sometime during the summer I'm gonna have to get up on the roof and with the local roofer and do something about this. So this little window annex at some point is probably gonna have to come off and be replaced, but if that's all we've got to do, we done incredibly well. So yeah, not bad. But there are other huge bills that you can have with a house, like your plumbing, your electrics, and windows, like this window here. You know, to repair all the windows on your house. For this house, if we repair them, your windows in France tend to be a standard size, but might not be. This one, I've actually made new ones to go in here out of oak, multi-pane ones. But your windows, that could be another, I don't know, anywhere up to £20,000-30,000 if they're not a standard size. So, you know, that could ruin your budget schedule. So yeah, to re-render the outside of your house, there you go, another 20,000-30,000 euros. Your plumbing, you know, that's another 20,000 euros. Your electric, 20,000 euros. Yeah, can go seriously badly wrong. When you buy a house in France, you don't normally get a structural survey. They just aren't a thing. So I recommend taking a builder with you, because at the top of this ladder, you see there's a little skylight. Now, just behind that skylight is our chimney, and that was falling over. There was a whole row of bricks missing. Now, even if you had a structural survey, it would have been very hard to notice that there was a row of bricks missing behind that timber beam just up there. A structural surveyor just might not have even picked up on it. And this here is actually cement. Now, at some point in the future, we've got to chip off all of this cement. Now, this is old French cement, and that French cement has got coal dust in it. So that cement is like steel. It's going to be very hard to chip that off. It's probably going to take us, you know, a couple of days to chip that off. So yeah, that's going to be very hard work. It's just labour. It's not going to be expensive, but it's going to take days to chip off. So yeah, you got to think about these things. When looking at the house with the estate agent, we spent ages looking for things like termites and woodworm and that. And this was actually hidden under lino, and the lino was well and truly glued to the floor. So yeah, and things like this come down on our shoulders. They don't come down on the estate agent's shoulder or anyone like that. This is our fault for not finding it. No one else's. That's our fault for not finding it. So yeah, it doesn't, you know, it's not expensive to replace. It hasn't affected any of the beams underneath. We're quite lucky in that respect. But yeah, you know, so it's only a, you know, 10-15 minute job to replace. So yeah, the beams underneath are oak, and you know, it's not affected any of the oak beams. So yeah, very lucky, and it's just a very small bit of woodworm. So yeah, we were very lucky in that respect. So yeah, it's quite isolated. So yeah, we were lucky. Although French electrics seem similar to English ones, they're different. If you're expecting to install one of those 9 kilowatt electric shower or electric charging point for your Tesla, you can forget it, because we had to downgrade our kettle. So yeah, you're out of luck. In the UK, I was a qualified sparky, and we got over 4 kilometres of wiring going through this house, and as you can see, it's still very much a work in progress. But if you're not up with French regulations, I definitely recommend getting a local French electrician to rewire it for you, because French wiring rigs are very different to English ones. So yeah, get a French guy to do it for you. Wherever you turn in our house, we got First Fix electrics sticking out everywhere. Now, you might have picked up on a few negatives, but they're really, really not. It's the good life. In the morning, you can just wake up, you can walk down through the forest, past the lakes, and this is the land of 1,000 lakes, and you can walk down into the local village, and you can go to the boulangerie, and you can stand there and you can choose your favourite croissant and your gâteau for the evening, and then
you get your fresh bread for the day.
And then you can walk across the road into the local market, and you can have a chat with your neighbours, and you can meet new friends, because there's always someone from the local community there to talk to, and you just stand and chat and have a wander round, and you've got the butcher, you've got the hairdresser,
the florist
there, and there's always new people to meet. It's such a community. You're just sort of like embedded in such a friendly place.
You've got to put yourself there, though. You've got to get out into the community and become part of it.
It's quite important we are trying our best to learn French. Mandy's a lot better than me, but it is part of it. But it's such a friendly place to be. It's so relaxing. I mean, I've given up wearing a watch.
You don't even carry your phone with you, do you?
No, it's always got 4% battery life. So these days, it's a stress-free life. It's the good life now. So then you come home. You walk back. You see plenty of wildlife and nature. You look at the views on the way home, and you come back, and then you sit we got our lovely lake here, and then you sit by the lake and you enjoy your pan of raisin, your
cup of tea
and your croissant, and you sit by the lake. And summer months here are 2 months longer than England, and even in winter, you watch the frost defrost over the winter, but we got kingfisher here, we got heron here, we got
there's a koi poo as well somewhere.
There's koi poo hiding. We got the fish. We got migratory birds. What they call the
grue.
The grue.
The cranes that fly over.
Just seen some colourful bird fly over just then, and
there's always something to look at, isn't there? Around
there's
the
always somewhere to look at, and it's so relaxing. And the views are amazing, and every day you come out, it's different. So it does absolute wonders for your health and that. And if you're into your outdoor sports, if you've got a dog or anything like that, you're cycling or anything like that.
Just walking
and hiking. It's no wonder people live so long out in France.
And the food's far better out here as well.
It's food, and it's so cheap.
You
can get a 5-course meal for the price of a hamburger and chips.
It's all proper food. It's not processed. It's not full of additives and cereals to bulk it out.
It's all local and stuff like that. And okay, the houses are cheap and they need a lot of restoration, but you're learning new skills, and it's so rewarding as a person to actually give back to these old houses and learn a new skill practically every day. It's absolutely amazing. So our advice is do it.
If you sat there like we used to, I wish we could, and then things happen, and it's and you never do. And
Yeah.
we've always said we'd rather look back on life going, wow, we really enjoyed that. Didn't work out, but we really enjoyed it. I'd hate to sit there going, oh, if only we had of, if only we had of. We've
Yeah.
been, we've come, and we're doing it.
Yeah. So
And
our advice is
do it.
do it. Do it now.
Yeah, take a leap of faith and do it if you're going to do it.
Do it now. You get very few reports on the condition of a property when you buy a house in France. Like this plumbing, for instance, we didn't get a report on the quality of that because our house was abandoned, and they don't give you a condition report if your property is abandoned. So we didn't get an electrical report, we didn't get a plumbing report, and there are 12 of these cast iron radiators connected to a huge coal and log burning stove, which we could have connected, and it probably would have exploded and taken down the house. But we did get a lead paint report, and this paint is very, very flaky and chalky, which suggests it's lead. And again, they did say that some of our pink paint was probably lead, but they didn't tell us where in the house the lead paint was. Very helpful. So yeah, you get very few reports on the condition of your house, so just be aware. These sooty black lines in the plaster would have been hidden behind wallpaper. Now behind here is actually a chimney. Now these black lines are caused by the mortar between stones or bricks is actually disintegrated, and smoke would have been leaking into the wall. Now to fix this, you have to chip all the plaster off and all the mortar and fix the mortar and basically line the chimney to make it all safe and basically stop yourself being poisoned by smoke overnight and during the day. Yeah, and you've got to make it all legal now. We had to contact about 3 water companies before we got this trench finally dug, and it leads across here to our water meter. And then by hand we had to dig down with pickaxes and spades and shovels and forks along here past our caves into about there. And that's, we finally got mains water. Woohoo! That was a really good day when we did that. This is one of the holes where some of the electrics and the sewage pipes come up from the cave, and by doing it ourselves, that's probably saved us 15,000 euros off the total bill. But yeah, been a lot of hard work. Now, I can't lie to you, during this renovation, not quite everything has gone to plan. A few things have gone wrong. So my advice would be keep it simple. Now that's coming from someone whose degree is in electronics engineering. I mean, I've worked on some pretty extremely high-tech stuff at times. It's pretty hush-hush military stuff actually. So, when these houses were built, they were built using some very traditional artisanal skills by people from the local community, really. So, professions like central heating engineer, electrical engineer, they just didn't exist back, 150 years ago. They just weren't a thing. So, keep it right back to basics. And when you stray away from those sort of skills, and that's when things go wrong, that's when your budget really exponentially goes wrong. So keep it simple. And but on the flip side of that, what you've really got to concentrate on is insulation, because these old houses are drafty. I mean, during winter these places get cold. Stone houses during winter, really, really cold. So what we did was we stuffed the floor full of wall insulation, and we stuffed the ceiling full of wall insulation, and we really spent the time and the effort sealing every single air gap around the windows. And there were holes in the wall around all the beams. bees and insects and snakes. Snakes were getting in. Pine martins in the ceiling. Yeah, they were all coming in. And we get things called cluster flies in France. They all come in and yeah, they make their homes and stuff like that. So yeah, we spent the time and we spent the effort. It's just pure labour. It just takes time. It doesn't cost you a lot of money because these raw materials in France, these are the cheap raw materials. Don't cost you a lot of money. So it's just pure labour. Not a big expense. And in France, double glazing is often a standard size. So if you're really, really lucky, your double glazing windows are going to be a standard size. So you can go to your local DIY store and get standard size double glazing windows, top tip. And yeah, so we spent the time and we spent the effort sealing everywhere and insulating everywhere, and that has paid off absolutely tenfold. And we also put in an electrical feed into every room for a heater. Whether we use it or not is a different matter. And in future, we might put in central heating, but central heating is a big investment and it's got a lifespan, and it's going to take a while for that investment to pay off. And by the time that has paid off, it might have, might need replacing, and it might have broken by then. So you got to be aware of these things. So you got to look into these things and weigh them up, basically. So we've gone for very simple log burner, for now, and we'll look at a more high tech system at a later date. So we'll keep you updated on that one. We're putting a little 1.5 kilowatt heater in each room, and with the floors and ceilings insulated, that keeps the rooms nice and toasty. The view out of these double glazed windows is quite clear, whereas these non-double glazed windows are all covered in condensation. At some point in the future we might add shutters to the front of the property. Now that won't just change the character, that will also improve the thermal insulation, but we will have to apply to the local mayor because they sometimes have a colour chart that you have to adhere to. Living in a house whilst renovating it can be rather tough.
Very tough.
I think
very cold,
very
dirty,
and dusty, and that's can often be my fault.
I think it's a joint effort actually on this house.
Actually it can be a joint effort.
I know like dirt clings to you and follows you around.
It does, it really does.
However, this time it's definitely a joint effort.
It is a joint effort, but I think you do need a sanctuary space.
Well, a sanctuary space and also a clean space.
Yeah, particularly when it comes to the end of the day, you kind of need sort of like a little space where you can just retreat to and just chill out, particularly when you're eating, really.
Eating brick dust is
it tends to cling to your hair, and sometimes you want the bath after tea and not before tea because you're just so knackered at the end of the day. So
I think my tip for anybody doing this would be to have one little area. We camped in the bottom right hand side of the house, and we had the kitchen in there, we had a couple of comfy chairs in there eventually, and a little table, and that was the non-building side. All the power tools were kept out of there, and that was at the end of the day, shut you in there with the door shut and all the messes on the other side of the door, so you can have a little bit of...
We've met quite a few people who are renovating houses now, and some people have a caravan, they live in rented accommodation and stuff like that. And we've met people that they go into a renovating property and they do it, kind of from our point of view, a little bit wrong. They go in absolutely gung-ho and they rip all the plaster off all the walls, they rip the ceilings down, and they don't leave anywhere clean and tidy to retreat to at the end of the day. And then after a little while they go literally stir crazy, and probably puts quite a strain on them really, and then they end up just sort of kind of panicking and getting like all the contractors in, and that's when the budget just goes poing.
Yeah.
And things start going wrong quite quickly, and so I think that little sanctuary space and doing one room at a time if you can.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go a little bit astray at times because the electrics all need doing.
Yeah.
And the plumbing all needs doing kind of.
Yeah, if you just did one room without doing the little bits and pieces, then you're going to have to redo.
Because we've done all the electrics kind of in one go, because they have to thread through the whole house. Yeah. But you need to do one room.
Well, that's how we found it anyway. I mean, other people will work differently, but for us, that's been perfect, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really worked.
And then when you've finished one room, and like we were sat there in the salon yesterday, both just looking around us with big grins on our faces because we've completed that room.
Yeah.
And it's that sense of achievement that keeps you going, I think.
Yeah.
You need those little hits every now and again.
Yeah.
To keep going.
Yeah, the one room strategy is really, really paying off.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
You can also, your budget as well, you can monitor it a lot easier.
Yeah.
A lot easier.
Yeah, because let's face it, if we've run out of money halfway through, then we've still got half the house we can live in quite comfortably.
Yeah.
While we go and get some more money or save up to carry on with the building works.
So it's a lot easier doing it that way. So hope that makes sense. Anyway, so.
But do it.
Yeah, and do it quick. Yeah, while you got time.
Yep.
So, as usual, folks, give us a bit of the old like and subscribe.
He does like that.
I does love a bit of that. And see you soon.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.